I've been talking a lot about Bitcoin recently, but I have another crypto love for very different reasons. That is Ethereum. It does things Bitcoin cannot, but are those things turning to the dark side? Does Ethereum have big bad news? We'll find out in about 10 minutes because it's time for Chico Crypto. So why do I love Ethereum? Well, while Bitcoin remains the most decentralized blockchain as of right now, Ethereum is a close second. Bitcoin and its proof-of-work blockchain has just under 15,000 core nodes, while Ethereum and its proof-of-work blockchain has just under 6,500. Although with Ethereum's switch to proof-of-stake coming this year, Ethereum will be the most decentralized based on node count, as each ETH2 validator is running a full node. And as we can see from Beacon Chain, which tracks these validators, there are over 300,000 of them. There isn't a doubt that Ethereum is the most decentralized among smart contract platforms. Besides a large and diverse base of node operators, they also have many layers of governance to officially make changes to their protocol. For example, the iterations EIP 1559 went through and how long it took to be adopted. So, out of the other layer 1 smart contract capable blockchains out there, none even come close to Ethereum's decentralization. Although our critical infrastructure pieces of Ethereum centralized. Well, last week the world found out that this may be the case. Ethereum has a wallet provider for connecting to the blockchain and ecosystem of dApps called MetaMask. I'm sure a majority of people who watch this channel have used it in some form a time or two. MetaMask dominates in market share. As of April 2021, the wallet had 5 million monthly active users. Then just 4 months later, by August of the same year, that number had doubled to over 10 million active users monthly. With the last stats in 3 more months, November of 2021, that number doubled once again to over 21 million active users a month. It's been 5 months since November, so it's highly plausible MetaMask has between 30 to 40 million monthly active users today. No other wallet service provider in the space even comes close to that number. But is MetaMask centralized? Well, late last week this kind of came to the forefront. It was reported that Venezuelan users of MetaMask could no longer access the wallet. MetaMask was getting blocked throughout the entirety of a country. So what happened? Well, to get the full story, we need to understand how MetaMask works and who owns MetaMask. First, who owns MetaMask? Well, that is the leading Ethereum development and software company, ConsenSys. Now, ConsenSys owns a large suite of Ethereum tools and products. They have audit and tooling from ConsenSys Diligence. They have CodeFi for institutional development. They have Quorum, the enterprise blockchain and Ethereum fork. They have Truffle, the developer tools and testing environment. But finally, Infura. So what is Infura? Well, it provides API access to Ethereum, Ethereum 2.0, IPFS, Filecoin, and other layer 2 networks on ETH. It's how dApps and wallets connect and communicate with the Ethereum blockchain, including MetaMask. Although Infura is fully centralized, the reason MetaMask was blocking users of Venezuela? Well, Infura was doing it. Infura tweeted after the outage this: "In response to the concerns we have been hearing, we want everyone to know that we corrected the problem that so many of you have pointed out. In changing some configurations as a result of the new sanctions directives from the United States and other jurisdictions, we mistakenly configured the settings more broadly than they needed to be. This was out of oversight, and we are grateful that it was pointed out to us. Once we determined what happened, we were able to fix the problem, and service has been restored." The United States government directed Infura, aka ConsenSys, to block IPs due to sanctions, and they funked up, blocking entire countries. They fixed it, but the damage was already done. Infura can and could eventually block a user, a group of users, or what has shown to be possible, entire regions. That is because it's fully centralized and controlled by a single entity, ConsenSys. Although it's not only ConsenSys now, there may be influence coming from the world of bankers. Protos posted this article last week. ConsenSys lawsuit reveals JPMorgan owns critical Ethereum infrastructure, and it states, a group of 35 shareholders of Ethereum giant ConsenSys AG, CAG, have filed for a special audit of a 2020 deal that saw JPMorgan Chase acquire an influential stake in two of its flagship products. What were those two products? Well, below it says, the deal, known within CAG as Project North Star, resulted in financial institutions, JPMorgan, winning a significant slice in the company's lucrative intellectual property, specifically MetaMask and Infura. So ConsenSys is in bed with the bankers, which is a result of ConsenSys acquiring JPMorgan's built Quorum blockchain for enterprise. This was announced back in 2020, and as we can see from the press release, ConsenSys said, in addition to ConsenSys' acquisition of the Quorum, JPMorgan made a strategic investment in ConsenSys to support its mission to help developers build next-generation networks and enable enterprises to launch more powerful financial infrastructure. The legacy bankers have infiltrated Ethereum and have their paws on the inside of Ethereum's largest and leading software tooling and development company. Legacy bankers that are like two peas in a pod with politicians and governments across the globe. Could this ever-evolving relationship between ConsenSys and JPMorgan have influenced and sped up their decision to block entire countries through Infura? Well, if we go back to the Protos article, we can see how much of a stake JPMorgan has in ConsenSys, thus its related products, including Infura and MetaMask. As we can see, it was a 10% stake, a very influential number. So is one of Ethereum's most utilized and popular tools, the MetaMask wallet, a fully centralized banker-influenced piece of boohickey? Well, yes and no. Let me try to explain, beginning with the centralization. MetaMask by default is a non-custodial wallet that defaults to centralized settings. Since ConsenSys owns both MetaMask and Infura, the wallet will default to the centralized service Infura for connecting the wallet to the ETH blockchain. Using MetaMask's default settings, you are going to get centralized problems, like the geo-blocking, but also you have service outages, as Infura has fully went down before on multiple occasions. Although, luckily, MetaMask was originally built back in 2016 with choice in mind. MetaMask has custom settings that allow you to point your wallet and to use whatever service you want to, including decentralized ones. Yep, you can use the decentralized Infura with MetaMask, aka the Pocket Network. Pocket functions as an inclusive relay network for API requests to Ethereum and other major blockchains. It's not just one centralized company providing the API requests and calls, but a network of over 33,000 nodes, meaning it's decentralized, it's unstoppable, and will likely never go down. So for those of you who don't want to play the centralized game, but still want to use MetaMask, let's add the Pocket RPC Ethereum endpoint to your MetaMask wallet. Within Pocket Network documentation, they have a quick guide. I've included that in the description if you want to read and do it yourself. Number 1, you will have to have your MetaMask wallet open. And at the top in Networks, you can click on Ethereum, and then you will click Add Networks. You can call this whatever you like. I'm calling it Pocket Network Ethereum. Now go to the Pocket Network documentation and copy and paste what's needed. First, you will need the RPC URL. Copy and paste that. You can do the same with the chain ID, which is 1. And then finally, you will need the currency symbol, which will be ETH. Finally, click Save, and you have added the Pocket network to your MetaMask. With this, you can now do any Ethereum transaction like normal. It's just now not running through the centralized service Infura, but the decentralized service Pocket network. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is regarding JPMorgan and MetaMask. Everyone should know that MetaMask has plans to launch a token. Back in November, founder of ConsenSys and co-founder of Ethereum, Joe Lubin, hinted at this, saying, "ConsenSys is vigorously controlled by its employees, which includes me, and we are driving towards decentralization of several of our projects. When mask, stay tuned." So now that we know JPMorgan has a 10% stake in ConsenSys, thus a 10% stake in MetaMask, will the MASK token be seen as JPMorgan launching a crypto token? So is this good or bad? Well, as much as I hate seeing the bankers infiltrate crypto, there are ways around it. Pocket. And the creation of MASK with JPMorgan 10% behind it will only bring legitimacy to the token space. But does that mean JP will be getting 10% of the MASK token supply when they are launched? Will they hodl or will they dump? Well, only time will tell, and I'll be here to cover it all. Cheers, viewers. I'll see you next time.